Now that we've got the setup and the grid and the checkboxes ready, it's time to actually make this work and add some functionality that does not exist in Webflow out of the box to create this filtering of this list. And to do that, we're going to be using Finsweet attributes. Now, if you're in the Webflow space, you might have heard about Finsweet yet. If not, you will hear about them because they're pretty big in the Webflow space. They're basically a Webflow agency, but they're releasing so much free resources for the community, and it's super, super helpful. They've got tons of stuff here, and that you can see CMS filters, CMS sliders, a lot of cool stuff here, a lot of functionality that does not exists out of the box in Webflow. And in this case, I'm just going to show you how to implement one solution, which is a CMS filter for our website, but it's worth that you explore what they have. And so in future projects, if you have something that it does not exist out of the box in Webflow, you will know how to implement this. And basically, I'm just going to show you how I, as well, because I'm not a coder, I'm just following their instructions and implementing it on my website. So let's go here into the CMS filter. They have pretty much extensive documentation and even video tutorials on each one of them. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and follow, the orders step by step. Basically, it's worth reviewing this before you're getting started to see that you have the requirements for using this thing, which is basically, there's a list I want to filter. Yeah, we have that. There are some filters that are inside of a form block. Now, in our case, I've already done that, but if you are not sure what is required, you want to check what's required before you're getting started. So oh, I actually need to create checkboxes or other UI elements inside of a form. And the field identifier is basically, if you have the checkbox label, that's the thing that is going to correlate with something else. That's why I told you that for this to work, it is important that if we have water sport here, we have also water sport here so that, the code can look for this and filter for that. That is mandatory for this solution to work. Maybe there are other solutions, but for this solution to work, it's mandatory that what you have on the label here correlates to something, some element. They have the same text in the list. So always a good idea to go ahead and review what is required, and then let's see how to use this. So we're going to, step number one, we're going to copy the CMS script and paste it in the head of our page. Let me click copy here. I'm going to go into our head and into the body, they said. No, into the head. All right, fantastic. This is the head. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to hit save. Fantastic. Step one is done. Let's see what else we need. Okay. These are the... Okay, so let's start here. The list. Okay, I want to filter the contents of this collection list or collection list wrapper. So how do we do that? We know in our case, we want to filter this list, which is, let's see where it is. It is the calendar event list. This is the collection list or the list wrapper. Each one of these things, one of these, doesn't really matter based on what they're saying. It's either the collection list or the collection list wrapper. So how do we tell the code that this is the list that we want to filter? We add this attribute, which is, we can just copy this and we remember that the value is list. So how do we do this? We go here into the settings. Now we're selecting the collection list wrapper in our case. And under setting, you see here we have the ability to add custom attribute. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to paste what I've copied, CMS filter. I remember the value was list. That's great. So I've got that implemented. Basically, step number one is done. Now they're actually showing you. You pick the list and then you add the attribute to visually see, where you need to add this. Okay, let's see what the next step is. Filters. I want this form block to have the filter UI element. Okay, so what is the form block that we're using to filtering? Let's see here. What is the form block? The form block is actually in here. This is the form block. So let's select this form block. Let's copy this attribute, and remember, we'll need to add filters as a value. All right, so let's go here. We're selecting the form blocks, custom attribute, paste this, and then filters. And I hope I don't have any typos here because this is important. Okay, step number two is basically done. Let's see if I have something else here. No, this looks good. Okay, step number 3, field identifier. When I interact with this filter UI, the checkbox label, I want to filter the CMS with this text block. Okay, so let's see it. So here we basically need to do this twice, and you can read here, and they're giving you an example. Okay, so there's a video here. Let's start this video from scratch so we can see it. As you can see here, they have the label Italy. Okay, so for the label, they're adding an attribute. Okay, so this is the attribute for they're calling it countries. Okay, and then they have another Italy here, which they're adding the same one, countries. So I guess this is how they know match this to that. Okay, so let's do this. Let's copy this. Identifier, I guess we can call it whatever we want. In our case, let's select the checkbox label here and add an attribute, not a condition, sorry, an attribute. Looks pretty much the same. And the value, we're going to call this sport. Let's just call this sport. And then the other place I want to do this is, remember, it's actually not sport, it's sports type. So it's, remember, make sure that we're picking the sport type and not the actual sport. It's this. It needs to be matched to this. So I'm going to go here, paste here, and call this sport as well. All right. Is that it? Is that as simple as this? Okay. Let's test this out. Let's go ahead and publish and see if this actually works. All right. So we're scrolling. We are in the calendar of events, and let's filter for water sports. Yep, I'm only seeing water sports. Let's filter for extreme. I'm only seeing extreme sports. Let's filter for both racing and combat. And it's filtering. Fantastic. So this works. This is amazing, and this was actually very, very easy.